this is Ravza.
And this is Beza.
Welcome to Fun Facts with RNB.
Today we're going to be talking about the mysterious world of bacteria and viruses.
That is a very interesting topic you have picked out, Beza. For our friends watching that don't know, bacteria are organisms which have only one cell, shaped like a sphere, a rod, or a spiral. A single one, called a bacterium, is really tiny. Millions would fit on the head of a pin. Bacteria have been around for millions of years, and they can live in any area of the world, no matter how hot or cold. These organisms can live in the soil, the ocean, and inside the human gut. Wow. Humans' relationship with bacteria is complex. Sometimes bacteria lend us a helping hand, such as by curdling milk into yogurt or helping with our digestion. In other cases, bacteria are destructive, causing diseases. Now on to the video.
Today, we will learn about bacteria. Bacteria are the simplest of creatures that are considered alive. Bacteria are found everywhere. Oh, they are in the bread you eat, the soil that plants grow in, and they live even inside of you. Are you trying to look at the bacteria? It can be seen only with a microscope. Do you know how it looks? Very tiny. Very, very tiny. See, here are some pictures of bacteria. They come in all sorts of shapes, including rods, spirals, and spheres. Bacteria are single-celled microorganisms. Their cell structure is so unique, they do not have a nucleus. Some people think that bacteria are dangerous. Most bacteria aren't dangerous at all. But some are and can make us sick. These bacteria are called pathogens. Pathogens can cause and spread diseases in animals and plants. Some examples of pathogens are leprosy, food poisoning, pneumonia, tetanus, and typhoid fever. Nowadays, we have antibiotics we can take which help to fight against the bad pathogens. We also have antiseptics to help us keep wounds clean of bacteria, and antibiotic soap we use to wash to help keep off bad pathogens. This is why we should wash our hands again and again. Most of the bacteria are very helpful to us. They play an important role in the planet's ecosystem, as well as in human survival. Bacteria work hard in the soil for us. One type of bacteria, called decomposers, break down material from dead plants and animals. One more type of bacteria in the soil is rhizobium. It helps to fertilize the soil with nitrogen for plants to use when growing. Do you like to eat yogurt? Well, bacteria is used when making foods like yogurt, cheese, pickles, and soy sauce. So they are our friends. There are many good bacteria in our bodies. They help us digest and break down the food we eat. Can you show the bacteria diagram to your friends? Parts of the bacteria cell. Capsula lies outside the cell envelope of bacteria. Outer membrane protects against harsh environment. Periplasm and cell wall, specialized region of great importance. Cytoplasmic inner membrane contains proteins of the nuclear. Cytoplasm, gel-like matrix composed of water, enzymes, nutrients, wastes, and gases. Ribosome serve as a site of mRNA translation and protein synthesis. Reserve food supplies, energy reserves, and readily available substrates for metabolic. Chromosome, molecule of circular DNA. Mesosome, form in bacterial cells prepared for electron microscopy by chemical fixation. You can copy and paste this chart in your room so that you can always remember this. Hope this topic is clear now.
Yes, but unfortunately viruses aren't as friendly like bacteria can be sometimes. Viruses need to be inside living cells to grow and reproduce. Most viruses can't survive very long if they're not inside a living thing, like a plant, animal, or person. Whenever a virus lives in is called its host. When viruses get inside people's bodies, they can spread and make people sick. Viruses cause chickenpox, measles, flu, and many other diseases. Because some viruses can live for a short time on something like a doorknob or countertop, so be sure to wash your hands regularly. Oh, look, Rosa, the Amoeba sisters want to share some fun facts about viruses as well.
Well then, on to the Amoeba sisters.
Chances are, in your life, you've had the common cold before. It can cause sneezing and coughing and can make you feel awful. The worst thing about the common cold is that you can take medications to help with the symptoms, but you really can't treat the actual cold with antibiotics like you would a strep throat infection or an infected tooth. Why? Well, let's talk about what causes it. A virus. The common cold is caused by a virus. While all living things are made of one or more cells, see the modern cell theory, viruses are not cells. Viruses aren't technically classified as living things since they lack many characteristics of life. But there is some debate in calling them non-living as well. Medications like antibiotics attack bacteria like E. coli, which are living cells. Antifungal medications can be used on fungi like athlete's foot, which are made of living cells. Viruses are not bacteria or fungi. You can't classify a virus as a prokaryote or a eukaryote either because it's not a cell. So what is their structure like? First of all, viruses are much, much smaller than cells. You typically are going to need an electron microscope in order to see a virus. Viruses come in many shapes. Our favorite one to draw is the bacteriophage. It sounds very fancy, but it's a type of virus that tends to attack bacteria. Despite this being our favorite to draw, know that the shape of viruses vary greatly. One thing all viruses have in common is that they have some type of genetic material. This genetic material can be in the form of DNA or RNA. Viruses usually have some kind of protein coat, also known as a capsid. The capsid can protect the DNA or RNA genetic material. Viruses can also have other structures. Some viruses package special enzymes with them. Some viruses have an outer envelope. These additions can be useful to the virus in virus replication. One thing that makes virus replication or reproduction unique is that they can't replicate without a host. And it's their reproducing that tends to be a problem for its host, whether the host is you, in the case of the common cold, or an insect, plant, this bacterium. Viruses tend to be very specific for the host that they're going to infect, but anything that is alive can be a host because cells have the machinery that viruses need in order to replicate. We're going to talk about two types of viral replication cycles. The first one is the Lytic Cycle. In the Lytic Cycle, the virus, remember very selective, attaches to a host cell. It often binds to a receptor that this cell has, which gives it access to attach. The virus can inject either its DNA or RNA, depending on what kind of genetic material it has, into the cell. Some types of viruses are actually taken inside the cell themselves. Now, you would think that the cell would notice viral DNA or RNA or an entire virus that has been taken in, but in many cases, it does not. It takes the genetic material from the virus and it starts following the instructions, which in this case is very bad because the instructions tell it to make copies of the virus. The cell uses its own resources to start building. It starts making so many copies of the virus that it can cause the cell membrane of the host to rupture, explode, lyse. So what happens is now that these new viral copies, they can get out of the cell and go and infect other cells. This is known as the lytic cycle. By the way, the lysing of the cell membrane is a very bad thing for the cell. The cell cannot survive without its cell membrane. The other cycle is called the Lysogenic Cycle, and I like to remember this is the longer word, so I like to think of this as the longer, sneaky cycle. Viruses that go through this cycle tend to do the same thing at the beginning. They inject their genetic material, but this time the genetic material stays hidden in the host genetic material. What happens is that when the host makes new cells, it replicates its own genetic material and the viral genetic material. Then those daughter cells make new cells, and they also replicate their own genetic material and the viral genetic material, and so on. This is the lysogenic cycle. That may not seem like a problem, but it really becomes one if the virus gets triggered to go into the lytic cycle from that point, because then all those cells that have the viral genetic material can start assembling viruses. And as far as what triggers it to go into the lytic cycle, it can vary. It could be a chemical trigger, for example, or a lack of food for the host. Going back to the common cold, a lot of times it has to run its course. Your immune system will typically take care of it, and medications can help with the symptoms so that they don't feel as bad. But unfortunately, some viruses are extremely complicated, like HIV, a virus that can lead to AIDS. Like most viruses, it is very specific. It binds to a CD4 glycoprotein that is found on the surface of specific cells, such as helper T cells. The problem about this particular target is that helper T cells play an important role in protecting the body and the immune system. Since HIV goes after these immune cells, it can make a person that is infected with HIV vulnerable to other infections. There are medications that have been developed to help keep HIV from replicating as quickly, and there continues to be research into looking into ways to keep the virus from attaching, because if the virus can't attach, it can't insert its genetic material. A problem that continues to be a challenge is that many viruses, including HIV, can mutate. So a treatment developed against a certain virus type may not work on a mutated form. So with our talk about viruses, you might wonder, is there anything positive about viruses? Well, some viruses can play a useful role in gene therapy. Definitely something to explore more. Also remember how we mentioned that viruses can go after other organisms, like insects, for example. A virus that targets pest insects could be an alternative to a chemical pesticide. One such example virus that you may want to explore is the nuclear polyhedrosis virus. Still, it's important to consider that whenever talking about any kind of pesticide, chemical or viral, there could be consequences in the ecosystem.
Wow, thanks for letting us know. We better wash our hands and be careful about our hygiene, guys.
Yep.
I have something else to share with you guys about bacteria. Did you know bacteria are used to help the environment by treating sewage and breaking down oil from oil spills?
Wow, these good bacteria can actually be really useful.
Exactly. Given the size of our planet and its wealth of resources, it is easy to forget that these resources are finite. As Earth's human population continues to grow, the question of how effectively to limit and recycle waste, avoid environmental contamination, and make the most of water and fuel reserves become all the more pressing. This is where our hero, the bacteria, comes in. Bioreminition is any process that uses decomposition in green plants or their enzymes to improve the conditions of contaminated environments. Bacteria can be used to clean up oil spills in the ocean through bioremediation. Specific bacteria can be used to bioremediate specific contaminants, such as hydrocarbons, which are present in oil and gasoline.
So our bacteria friends can be tiny little cleaners for the environment. That is so cool.
Well, look here, the Amova sisters have something to share with us about this topic as well.
All right then, on to the video.
So over our winter break, we did a little skiing, and we also got a little sick. Petunia got strep throat, and Pinky had to get a root canal. So what do both of these have in common? Well, they've given us some inspiration, but besides not being fun, both of these, they were caused by bacteria. And just a disclaimer, an amoeba does not have teeth, and they do not have a throat either. But we really did get sick. Bacteria can make most people shudder. I mean, you think of germs, and why wouldn't we? Because many types of bacteria, they can make you sick. Strep throat, it's caused by this little bacterium called Streptococcus. And it's no little bug because it can make you very sick. It produces toxins that your body has to fight off, in addition to causing mayhem as it grows in your body. Many types of bacteria can do this. Oh, and for Pinky's root canal, the root canal was needed due to a cavity that got out of control, and bacteria plays a major role in tooth decay. We both had to get antibiotics. Your immune system, it can fight off many bacterial infections, but sometimes it needs the help of antibiotics. And antibiotics are effective against many types of bacteria.
Most forms of antibiotics, they're going to target the structure of prokaryote cells. Bacteria are a great example of prokaryote cells. When you think of pro, think of it rhyming with no. It has no nucleus and it has no membrane-bound organelles. Bacteria still have a cell membrane and genetic material like the other cells, but no nucleus, no membrane-bound organelles, and antibiotics will target them. One thing, though, that is interesting about antibiotics, if you've ever been on them before, you might notice that sometimes they can make you feel a little bit sick to your stomach, or they might make you feel like your appetite is negatively affected. And here's the thing, most antibiotics that are broad spectrum, they're not very super selective. They destroy the bad bacteria, but they also get the good bacteria. And yes, you did hear me right, good bacteria. You actually have tons of good bacteria in your body. In fact, you have more bacterial cells in your body than you have human cells in your body. That's a little bit scary. Bacteria are especially found in your digestive system. They help you break down food, and they also help you synthesize certain molecules, like vitamin K, for example. And they keep other microorganisms from getting out of control. For example, you know bacteria is everywhere. You know what else is everywhere? Fungus. Yeast, for example, is a type of fungus. And yeast grows everywhere. A possible side effect of taking antibiotics is that you can develop a yeast infection. Why? Well, if you kill off the bacteria, you're taking out the yeast competition. The yeast doesn't have to worry about the bacteria anymore, and it can grow out of control. Have you ever wondered why the people on yogurt commercials look so happy? Well, some foods like yogurt, they need bacteria to help produce them. And the thought is that by consuming some of these foods, you might help contribute to this bacterial flora that lives in your digestive system. And we can only wonder if maybe that's why they look so happy. Bacteria are also one of the most important decomposers in food webs. Scientists do a lot of genetic research using bacteria as well. Bacteria are cheap, they're quick to grow in the lab. In fact, some exciting research to look up on the web is to see how bacteria can be used to clean up oil spills. Bacteria already can do this, but the engineering part comes in when you're trying to figure out an effective way to have bacteria clean up these oil spills without them harming the environment at the same time. Just something to think about the next time you want to call bacteria the bad little microbe.
Thanks, Amoeba sisters!
Beza, I have been hearing a lot about the specific type of virus that people have been talking about. I think it was called the Coronal Virus or something.
Oh no, Ravza, it's called the coronavirus.
Right. What is the Coronal Virus they keep talking about? I'm confused. Can you explain?
Of course! You may have noticed lots of adults talking about a coronavirus. There's a new kind of this virus spreading around the world. It's called coronavirus because corona means crown in Latin, and the virus looks like it's wearing a spiky crown. Mostly it makes people cough, feel tired, and have a fever. But older people and people who have other conditions can get very sick from it. This disease, the virus, causes it called is COVID-19.
Oh my goodness, where did it even come from?
The virus was first found in a city in China called Wuhan last December, but we think the virus actually came from bats. From there, it hopped on to another type of animal who gave it to humans. No one knows for sure where this mystery animal is, but some people think it might have been a pangolin, a scaly animal that eats ants.
I see. What can I do to help stop the virus?
You can help stop the virus by washing your hand. This means sudsing up with soap and rubbing your hands together to clean all your fingers, under the fingernails and between fingers. You can sing the ABCs or come up with another tune that lasts about 20 seconds. Also, try to keep your hands off your face, so no rubbing your eyes or nose or putting your hands on your mouth. That way, if there's any virus on your hands, you won't give it away to enter the body where it can make you sick. And remember to cough or sneeze into your elbow and stay home when you're sick.
I understand. These are all very important things. Thanks for letting me know.
No problem, but don't forget there is no need for you to worry because adults are working very hard to keep kids and other adults safe. Even if you do get this virus, kids usually don't get very sick from it. It's more like a mild cold. But you still have a special role to play in protecting others. Older people, like grandparents, need your help to stay healthy. That means washing your hands and staying home if you're sick. It may also mean skipping your activities or not going to school if your principal and other grown-ups in charge decide that's best. Now, that can slow down the spread of the virus and protect older and sicker people. Now, on to the video.
Hands often and well. When I wash mine, I sing happy birthday twice. Also super important, when you sneeze, sneeze into your elbow. And no fingers in your nose. No, no, no. Keep a distance of at least 1 meter from other people. But the thing that works best is staying at home for at least a while. Like this, the virus will be so bored and won't have anyone to stick to, and poof will go away.
I will be careful to follow the golden rules from here on out.
That's great, Raza.
Thank you. And it seems we have come to the end of another episode. To all of our friends watching, don't forget to follow the golden rules and stay safe, all right? I know we can defeat the coronavirus together.
That's the spirit, and we will see you guys in our next episode.
Thanks for watching Fun Facts with RMB. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned to Fun Facts with RMB on NTR with Turksat. Goodbye!